Hi everyone, so in today's video we're going to go through some more questions from the online prep test that is available on the university site. I know that some of you are asking for a topic by topic how to answer each question type, but I do think I've gone through that in quite a lot of detail in other videos. So if you go looking, you will definitely find that. What I'm going to do in this exam is to go through it in basically exam mode. So we're going to go through it as quickly as possible, applying the techniques that hopefully you've been practicing and that you're familiar with. So I'm going to try and give you some speed tips and just basically how to do the exam itself well, rather than focusing on the theory of how to answer each question. Okay, we'll start with question 11. So this one is a draw as a conclusion question. So I'm going to go through and pick out exactly how you should answer this question. So the first sentence here, it's widely claimed, and then we get the topic sentence introducing what the subject matter is. In this case, it's ancient stone circles and how they might have been used as astronomical observatories. They were used to create sightlines to various celestial objects. We then get the word while. I like that because it then tells me that the author's opinion or whatever is being debated is coming up. So it's saying that it seems clear that solar and lunar alignments were important in the layout of many circles. There are problems when it comes to the stars. So that is the main conclusion. So that's going to help me to find what the rest of this passage is talking about. I can then see that the next sentence is saying many stones are missing. The sentence after that is saying further the position of the stars is changing. Then it's saying using the law of physics we can recreate maps of the heavens for any period in the past, but to draw a conclusion we need to know exactly when stones were erected. Then we have, unfortunately, no dating methods are currently useful for that. Then we have, finally, there are hundreds of combinations of stones. Hopefully from that you can see there's nothing contradictory after that sentence. It's all about there are problems when it comes to the stars, and then a list of why it might be problematic when we decide whether these stone circles were used to plot stars or not. We can then look through each option. With a draw the conclusion question, remember you cannot predict what the potential answer would be. You do have to read A to E carefully in turn. I'm just going to skim them and find the answer first. I'm not going to go through why the others are wrong. I'll just focus on which is the right answer. And we have D. D fits in perfectly there. We don't know whether the stars were important. There's nothing definitive in that passage. It's all a discussion of whether it might be possible to find out in some ways. Right now we don't have the techniques for it, and we just don't have enough data to conclude whether people in the past really cared about using how the stones were laid out to plot for stars as well. Okay, question 12. So again, with the problem solving, I will read the question sentence first. How far will David and Andrew be 1 hour after they pass each other? We then have to figure out what it is they're doing. So David is setting out at 9 a.m. and he is walking up a 10-kilometer path up a hill. He is walking at 3 kilometers per hour. That's David. Andrew is setting out from the top of the hill 1 hour later. So Andrew is starting from this end and he is starting at 10 a.m. He's walking in the opposite direction at 4 kilometers an hour. Very, very simple numbers, very simple question. I've seen this multiple times in different exams, so hopefully nothing to trip you up here. We just need to find out where they're going to be 1 hour after they pass each other. So two important things there. When do they pass each other? And then where will they be? So David sets out first. After the first hour when Andrew starts walking, he will have made it 3 kilometers up the path. Then David sets out, so he will walk at 4 kilometers. So he'll come up 4 kilometers. At the same time, David is also walking up from this way. So they're actually going to cross here at 11 a.m. At 11 a.m. they meet here. After another hour, where will they be? We don't even need to do all of this, to be honest, because after they pass, all you need to know is that they have a combined speed of 7 kilometers an hour. So whatever happens, one after they pass each other, it will be 7 kilometers away from each other. So that's a slightly quicker way to do it. But if you do need to visualize it like this to help you, then you can do that as well. Another problem solving question now. So again, read the question language. What is the least that Juan can pay for the boxes? What boxes are we talking about? This first sentence is just talking about the context of the question. What he wants is 2 different boxes, combined capacity of at least 1,000 centimeters cubed, and neither box with any side longer than 25 centimeters. So we've got a little bit of elimination to do here to make our calculation, or like finding the right box, easier. We can start by eliminating length or width because it can't be longer than 25 centimeters. That eliminates this option and this option, so we're left with 3. And then we have capacity over here, which is we need the 2 to combine to be more than 1,000 centimeters cubed. So these 2 do not work together. So we either need to have this one and this one, or this one, and this one. So from there we can just choose the cheapest price option. Obviously this one's the cheapest, so we want this one involved, and then we need this one as well because that would take us over 1,000 centimeters cubed. So that's going to give us a total of $35. Is that one of the answers? Yes. So it'll be E. So in this problem solving question, we want to work out which pair of offers work out to be the same price per kilogram. So let's figure out what the question wants from us. So it's saying Dan wants to buy 12 kilograms of rock salt. He's found the recommended retail prices of a 1 kilogram bag, and then we've got 4 stores offering 4 different options. Now in this case, I'm really in favor of just taking the most direct approach. In this case, it's 12 kilograms. It's not a big number. I would rather just plug in numbers and do it that way. I think sometimes that is just the quickest way to go about these questions. So if we just do that and we say that store 1, their offer is that you get 30% off the price of a 1 kilogram bag. So if we just set 1 kilogram as some arbitrary, easy to calculate price, so £1, then to do for per kilogram for store 1, what you're essentially looking at is that 1 kilogram is 70 pence. So we need obviously 12 of those. So the total for 12 kilograms for store 1 is just £8.40. And then we can just do the same for store 2, 3 and 4. So for store 2, it's buy 1, get 1 at half price. So essentially it's £1.50 for 2 kilograms. So we need 6 of those. So it's just going to be £9 for 12 kilograms. And just make sure it's all labeled. This is 1, this is 2. For 3, it's buy 2, get 1 free. So if that's the case, we actually only need to buy 8 because we will get 4 of those free. So essentially it works out as 12 kilograms for £8. And that'll be store 3. And then for store 4, it's 1/3 extra for the same price as a 1 kilogram bag. So if we buy 12 kilograms, we only need to buy 9 kilograms worth, and the remaining 3, the third extra, we will get for free. So that would just be £9 is store 4. As you can see, store 2 and 4 have the same price for the 12 kilogram total, and so the answer will be D. So just take the path of least resistance. Honestly, if that seems like the quickest way to do it, just by putting, if the numbers aren't weird and it's just like quite an easy thing to do, then I would personally just do that. I don't see a problem with that whatsoever. Not everything needs some like crazy technique to get there. It doesn't save you time a lot of the time. Okay, so main conclusion question. Hopefully this one's nice and easy. As we go through, I'm just going to tell you what type of sentence each sentence is. So I know obviously there's ways to look for must, should, there's ways to identify quickly, but I do think it's also important for you to have an understanding of why you disregard, or you can say for sure this is not a conclusion sentence. So that first sentence is introducing what a cataract is. It's a definition. The second one is commenting on how many cases of blindness there are. So it's just a statistic. So we've set the scene now. We're talking about cataracts and how it relates to blindness. We then have the effects of cataracts, which is that it leads to a variety of negative social issues. And then we have that treatment by surgical replacement offers great value. So immediately we're into words like great value for the immense benefits it brings. So from this, I know that this is going to be my conclusion, because things like offering great value, having immense benefits, not only for the individual, but society as a whole, is certainly something that is debatable, something that is this writer's opinion. We then have the next couple of sentences be further explanations as to what these benefits might be. So it's quite quick, this surgery doesn't require large big budget equipment, it doesn't require stays, it's got high success rate, relatively inexpensive, etc. Hopefully you can recognize that for what it is, which is just a list of factors that support the main conclusion sentence. So it's this sentence here: treatment by surgical replacement of the affected lens offers great value for the immense benefits it brings. So we'll just match that sentence, which would be C. Another draw conclusion question. We seem to have quite a few of those in this paper. So again, we want to read through, make sure we've understood what we're looking at, make sure we've understood the topic, and then hopefully confidently choose which of these sentences works for us. So the first sentence is introducing a Swedish island, Stora Kolso, and it's used for wildlife conservation, currently uninhabited by people except for day trippers. The population of Mer seabirds there declined because of people hunting them, but then it recovered because these activities were banned. In one recent summer, Storacalso was closed to tourists, and scientists monitoring made a surprising discovery. What they found was the percentage of eggs hatched by the MERS dropped by 26% due to white-tailed eagles which flocked to the island. Turns out eagles came because of no humans, and MERS were scared by the bigger eagles. So a pretty simple thing that's happened here. We had initially the case of we were trying to protect this wildlife, the MERS seabirds, and we were doing a good job by banning people because it stopped them from taking the eggs. Then once we banned the people, we found instead other predatory, well, not even predatory, they're just bigger birds came to the island and scared away the MERS. So in fact, again, the MERS population dropped. So we now need to find which of these sentences that could mean is definitely true as a conclusion. So again, going to read through, and the answer is going to be B here. So the presence of people has a beneficial effect on wildlife species populations in some cases. It's quite clearly outlined here. So in this case, in other draw conclusions, sometimes you need to take sentences together and say this is the argument and this is the argument that's being made. In this case, you're just observing the study and you're seeing the results of the study. So you're basically drawing the result, the conclusion of the study. So what this hasn't said, after they do the study, say you were looking at a main conclusion or like a more of a typical, like say flaw case, what they might follow up with and say is this particular sentence is something that we can infer from what's happened here is that sometimes people can help. Okay, so now we have a flaw question. This one looks familiar. I think I might have gone through this in the live, but with flaw, again, I've listed them out in other videos of what they typically could be. Just to run you through them again, it can be like correlation but not causation, ignoring other factors. It can be taking one case, a specific case, and then applying it generally. There's a couple of others. Again, I'll try and link the video, but there should be a list that I've given you to help you through this. So in this case, we've got a colleague is immature. Calling a colleague is immature is not unlawful. A tribunal ruled. In a recent case, an employee sued the director of a company for age discrimination, but then the director actually won this because they said that it was a fair thing to call them immature because it's not about their age, it's just about their actual manner. So the tribunal dismissed this, and then we get the conclusion sentence here, which is, so directors of companies should not be overly concerned about the legality of accusing their employees of being immature. Hopefully this is very obvious to you that they cannot just take one successful case that won at a tribunal and then call it good and say, okay, now everybody go off and do the same thing. So that's a very typical flaw question, and the answer to that one will be E. The fact that one case has been dismissed does not mean that all future cases will be dismissed. I'm going to try and run through as many of these as possible before I run out of time. Okay, so we have a question here. I need to make sure that my 3 children all have a piece of fruit to take to school on each of the 5 days next week. Jessica and Bruce do not eat apples. Victoria does not eat oranges. And then we want the minimum that I can spend to be sure that I have enough fruit for all 3 children next week. Now, with this particular question, we have 4 bag options. So it's quite simple in terms of the actual numbers involved. So if we think about it, we need 10 oranges, and then we need 5 apples, right? At least. And obviously none of these bags come in kind of round numbers, so we've got to figure out which is best. If you look, obviously the simplest option is just to do an apple bag and 2 orange bags, but these 2 are more expensive than these 2. So how do you figure out which combination that we should actually use? So the easiest thing to do here is think about what proportion of apples and oranges do we need. This bag half and half is saying 3 apples, 3 oranges. That's no good for us, because what we would actually want is for there to be 4 oranges and 2 apples. Then that bag would make sense, and we can just do like 3 of those bags, and that would be cheaper. But as it stands, these 2 don't offer the right proportions of fruit, so we can just actually say neither of those 2 work, and instead we'll just do the normal option, which would be 109 times 2 plus the 99, so that'd be 317, which would be D. These questions. Strengthening the argument. So identify the conclusion first. Just going to have a read through. Again, I'm going to read it through in the way that I would recommend you guys do. So in recent years, that's again introducing the topic. And what is the topic? The production and visibility of colorized and restored historical photographs has grown exponentially owing to whatever. But here comes the opinion. The expansion of the technical capacity and popular appetite to alter historical photography has not been matched by sufficient debate about the assumptions and consequences of this practice. Colorizers do not address photographs as physical artifacts with unique histories of creation. So I guess this is their beef with the current way of colorizing. They're just like, well, they treat original photos as windows that can be improved. But, and here's his opinion, a photograph is never just a neutral representation of the past. Why is that? Every photograph has a complicated history. It's shaped by who looked at it, you know, how it was shaped by technology and what all of this means, etc. So it's just like very like verbose. It just goes on and on. But the crux of it is obvious, which is that, you know, we shouldn't just go around colorizing historical photographs, because you lose a lot of meaning in it, because how it was taken, why it was taken, what it was taken for matters. So then we'll just go through the options. Again, with strengthening argument questions, you have no choice but to read A to E. You can't skim through like you would on a main conclusion or a flaw one, for example. You can't guess what the answer would be. In this one, the answer is clearly C. So some photographers of the past chose to use black and white instead of color. That is an intentional thing that they did, which supports the argument that we shouldn't take away the intention of the original artist by colorizing the photograph. Okay, now we're looking at a principal question. When it comes to principal questions, how it's often structured, how it's structured 99% of the time, is that they give you an example of how the principle can be applied in a certain situation, and then it gives you like a summary sentence of what the principle is, and then it asks you to find another case where you could apply this principle. So you can go ahead and waste time reading the example and trying to understand it that way. What I would rather you do is just to identify the sentence which tells you the principle straight up, and then just apply that right away. And I'm not saying like obviously skip things, but just skim it until you get to that sentence. So in this case, I would kind of say like, okay, there's discontent amongst students, something to do with automated marking software. There's ethical issues. Students have the right to feel aggrieved when they start on this course. And then you get to this sentence. You have every right to complain about something which affects you if you have not previously been informed, consulted, or given your consent. You can see the rest of it is just applying that, which is what they're asking you to do anyway. So it doesn't make sense to look at two different cases of it. Just see which the principal sentence is. So it's very clear. All they want you to say is you can complain about it if you haven't been told about it, basically. If it affects you and they haven't told you about it, then it's in your right to complain. And then we can just go through the answers one by one. A customer has every right to demand a refund rather than accept an alternative product is not quite right. So that's a different action to being able to complain about something. Someone selling their house out ought to inform the buyer if they cannot guarantee is obviously not the case. Something about not being satisfactorily clean is not the same as misinformation or misguiding the buyer. A patient who has been prescribed a medication that has unpleasant side effects is entitled to complain if they were not warned of this possibility is just hitting every single mark. It's something that they can complain about because it affects them, side effects, and they can complain because they were not given prior consent or informed, not warned of this possibility. Okay, parallel arguments now. With parallel arguments, there is the A, B, C, Z, Y, whatever method. I'm going to sort of suggest another way to do it, which would just be in kind of understanding the argument structure, because I know people find that A, B, and that actually can take you more time than actually just going through it and sort of sitting with the argument. So what I mean here is, let's read through this. It says, the chef will not go ahead with her cooking class tomorrow. I'm going to just change the color here. Unless at least 15 people sign up for it by 5 p.m. today. So we have some event that can go ahead if a condition is met. It is now 4 p.m. and 20 people have already registered. So this is the condition met. I guess I should have done that in a different color as well, to be honest, but oh well. So she'll be teaching the class tomorrow. So it's quite simple, like kind of cause and effect. If this is done, this will happen. This has happened, this will be done. So by doing that, I want to emphasize the importance of the way that I'm saying will. Something will happen, something has been done, something has been met. So I think a lot of the time confusion can occur when people think that the kind of when it happened doesn't matter. If it's like saying, if in the future this happens, then this will also happen. That's a different structure to this argument here. Okay, so if it's something like both of those events are in the future, where the condition has to be met and all of that, then that's just wrong. So we can now look at the different arguments. So we've got, unless enough rain fell during the summer months to water the crops, they would have all died out by July. So this is wrong because of this section here, right? So for this to fit what this paragraph is, or this reasoning is trying to tell us, it should say, if enough rain falls during the summer months, then it should be unless, then the crops will not survive, or something like that, right? And then it should say, like, you know, enough rain fell during the summer months so the crops will survive. That would be the correct way, but you can see that this is talking about an observation of something that's already happened in the past. The architect's plans cannot be approved by the local authorities unless it meets all of the relevant regulations. And then in this case, it's wrong because of this part. So the plan will be rejected because the architect has disregarded two of the rules. So that is not in the positive case. In our original reasoning, it was we had a successful result. We met the condition. Unless more public transport options are made available, traffic congestion in town will never improve. The mayor has announced that new bus lines will be introduced, so traffic will start to ease up after that. Fulfills all of the conditions of saying X cannot happen unless we have Y. Y has happened, so we can have X. Maybe the letter thing is easier. I don't know. I think you can try out different ways. I know people still find it confusing when I explain it that way. Okay. So what is the total amount that Jimmy had to pay? What is Jimmy paying for? Well, every Christmas season we have an ice skating rink, and the rink is open from the 12th of December to 9th of January inclusive, and it's between 2 and 5 p.m. It's closed on Sundays and Christmas Day, but there's an extra session on Saturday between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. and the charge is £2 an hour. And when Jimmy was learning to skate, he went for 2 hours every session that it was open. And that year, 12th December was on a Monday. So again, a very common one. So this is the method. You just kind of sketch out and start working out dates like this. This might be a good time for you to figure out, do I know how many days are in each month? Because if you don't, that's gonna, of course, hold you back. Okay, so that is now all of my weeks scheduled. So you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks and then an extra day. So we're looking at 29 days total so far of sessions. Now we just need to look at the conditions that they've laid out and see if we can avoid or if we have to account for any of those. So you can see here we are closed on Sundays, but there's an extra session on Saturdays. And not including this Monday, we do have full weekends, so those two actually just offset each other, so we don't lose any sessions. It's just as if Sunday was open. We then have to look at this Christmas Day event, 25th. The only thing we have to make sure is that it wasn't a Sunday. The 26th was on a Monday, so the 25th was a Sunday, so we also do not have to account for Christmas Day. That just makes our sum very easy. 2 hours every session, 29 times 2 hours times £2 a session, which obviously gives us 116 E. So again, I feel like I'm just saying the same thing over and over. Sorry about that, but this question is come up in like 2 papers before, so just learn the method. Also looks very familiar, so we'll have a look. What is the total price I will pay for my gift bag? So I need to create gift bags for my guests who are coming to my party. Each one contains 5 sweets, a small toy and a balloon. The prices are as below, and I need 23 gift bags. So that would mean in total I need 23 times 5, so I need 115 sweets, 23 small toys and 23 balloons. As you can see here, what I mean by this question's come up before is like you should be able to recognize what you're looking at here. So for the first sum amount of something, you pay this price, and then it obviously gets lower and lower as you buy in bulk. And then just be careful that you don't miss these things in brackets over here. So for sweets, it's 20 in a pack, and I need, if I'm buying in packs of 20, I need 6 packs, and I'll be looking at this price point because it's within the first 10 packs. I then need 23 small toys, so that's this one here, 1 in a pack. So my first 10 I'll get from here, and then the remaining 13 I'll get from here. And then for my balloons, I need 23, 20 in a pack. I just need 2 of these packs. And then we literally just add. So 45 times 6 is 270. and then 2 of those is $180, and then this is $35, and this one is $39. So we just need to add those all up. So this one plus this one is $74. 2, 3, 4, 4 something, 70. What's that? 5. So $78.50. So it'd be B. Again, familiarize yourself if this does trip you up, but I feel like this one's maybe not super difficult. Okay, so another kind of like wannabe spatial one here. So let's just see what we're looking at. Which one of the diagrams does not correspond to one of the 4 houses? How does this work? We've got broken tiles, we've got column, row, and we have positions of the broken tiles starting from the bottom left-hand tile on each roof, and we're marking the positions of the broken tiles. Okay, so basically what that would mean is that this one here, 2, 2, that would have to appear in this spot here. That would be 2, 2, right? So once you've understood that, I feel like this one is going to be quite straightforward. You just have to, I guess the only thing to decide is really, are you going to look at this and try and match it to the diagram, or are you going to go through diagram in order? I would say going through diagram in order is going to be quicker, because you don't have to keep scrolling up and down and knocking them out. So let's just have a look at this one first. You can see that this one is, positioning wise, this is 2, 5, right? So we need to figure out which one that is, which is this one. So then the next one, and we can just write it out here, so to make it so that we can sort of double check with knowing that we haven't gone over. So we can just check now. So 2, 5, 3, 1, 4, 3, 7, 5, 10, 1. So that one is fine. Next, again, I would just, maybe that's the quickest way, just write it all out here first. So that'll be 2, 2, and then 4, 5, and then 5, 6, 6, 2, 8, 5, 10, 2. So we'll just make sure that that matches to something. 2, 2, 4, 5, 6, 2, 8, 5, 10, 2. Nice. And then this is quite like, this is just a bit annoying, to be honest, but oh well. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 2, 6, 4, 8, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 2, 6, 4, 8, 5. Oh, it's gonna be annoying if it's E, but let's just go through and we'll say 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 6, 3, 8, 5, 9, 2. 2, 3, 5, 4, 6, 3, 8, 5, 9, 2. So it must be the last one. Will I bother checking that? Probably not, to be honest with you, in the last exam. But I guess you could check these 2 here. 2, 2, 3, 2. Is there a 2, 2, 3, 2? No. So I guess that might have been a quicker way. That is one way you could think about doing it, but I don't know, like, would you feel comfortable doing that in an exam environment, knowing that you could potentially miss something? I mean, it didn't take too long, so I would just go with maybe just walking yourself through it anyway. Okay, flaw in the argument. Again, hopefully this one is nice and easy. It's going to be something to do with they've just made the wrong link or something like that. So let's just read through. So when hiring new employees for senior positions, many companies focus on their search on applicants who already have previous experience working in a similar job. This happens even though having another job does not automatically mean that a person performed well in that role. Also doesn't mean that they didn't perform well in that role. They could have performed well. Moreover, some people got their jobs because they have personal connections with the employees, not because they were most competent or suitable candidate. But it also doesn't mean that they definitely did get those jobs because of personal connections and such. Even if an applicant is highly qualified and did excel at another job, the different work environments at different organizations makes it challenging for them to apply their previous work experience. I mean, fair point, but also what if it does in fact help? Or like, what if you can't really just say that those, basically they're in this one, they're saying, and we can read through to the conclusion, this shows that companies that automatically reject inexperienced applicants are taking the wrong approach. You could say that, but also do you want to maybe think about the fact that there could still be a link, like it doesn't mean that because one's true the other can't be true. There could still be that connection. And then let's look through the options. Companies may be trying to save time by focusing on candidates who have previous work experience is nothing to do with the argument. It may be that good performance, although not guaranteed by previous experience, is impossible without it. I think that's a fair and accurate summary of the flaw. So basically, yeah, like there are reasons why good performance might not be sufficient. So this is one of the flaws that we talk about. Something is necessary but not sufficient. So this would be that case, right? So maybe in this case, we're basically saying you need it, but maybe it's like not always the case. Okay, main conclusion again. I think, like main conclusion, draw conclusion, flaw, you're definitely seeing as being more and more common. Strengthen, not so much. Weakness and assumption, about the same. And then parallel principle, also about the same as weakness and assumption, 2 or 3 times. 3, yeah, something like that. Okay, main conclusion. So according to legend, something. Yeah, that's all introducing the topic. The practice of allowing cows to choose where a city should be built would seem to be arbitrary and bizarre. And then there's always like an imaginary however here, but it would be a little reflection tells us that it is perhaps not so strange after all. That's your opinion, and I'm sure you'll spend the rest of that passage explaining why this is not strange after all. So that is obviously the main conclusion, which would match to C. So I am skipping a lot more of the explanation than I would normally do, but again, I hope this helps you to more kind of go through and tell you like how you should approach in an exam, because it's all well and good, as I say, knowing the theory, but unless you know how to kind of work around this quickly, it's always going to slow you down. Okay, we've got drawn as a conclusion, which is again super common these days. Let's go through again. Why is it that disagreements have a tendency to become so heated? Well, and they're telling us now, the problem arises from the fact that people who think differently from you on any topic are perceived subconsciously as a threat. Why is that? Not a physical threat, okay, but a threat to what? Your reputation. Why is that? Because if someone who thinks differently from you is right or perceived to be right, implies you're wrong, and being wrong is something that's wrong, that we fear. Why? Because it causes damage to our credibility and our trust, and trust is extremely valuable. I really like that they've included these like, why is this? Like, why is that? Why is this? Because I think when I'm explaining a lot of these passages to you, I tend to use that kind of language, and I feel like I try to encourage at least for you to think about it in when you go through an argument, that those are the questions, or like naturally you should be asking yourself. It's like, have they explained? Why is that? What is that? So what? And this kind of, that structure, kind of like if you took those out, that's how maybe some of these other passages would look to you. So if it just said disagreements have a tendency to become heated, full stop, the problem arises from the fact that people who think differently from you on any topic are perceived subconsciously as a threat, not necessarily a physical one. Because if someone who thinks differently from you is right, etc., etc., that's normally how a passage would appear. In this one, they have that kind of invisible, why is this, what is this? And I personally think thinking about it in that way really clears up for you where you are in the passage and the argument and the mechanism of figuring out what the main conclusion or the main argument is. So what can be drawn as a conclusion? If two people think differently, they cannot both be right. That's not true. It just kind of implies like it's often the case, but it's not always the case. So that's not true. In order to be effective in a debate, someone must earn the trust for those around them. That's also not true. We're saying that we're worried about losing trust as a result of being wrong, not the other way around. We fear reputational threats just as much as you physical threats. There's no discussion of which one is greater or smaller. If someone thinks the same way as you, they will not perceive you as a threat. Again, we don't know that. There's no discussion of what happens in the other sense. There's only a discussion of what happens if you do disagree. If we did not fear being wrong, disagreements would be less likely to get heated, would be correct, because we've got this mechanism of if you fear being wrong because you're going to lose trust and credibility of others, then you're more likely to react badly, right? That's the thing here. So if we turn that around and say, if we're not worried about that, then we wouldn't react badly, which is exactly what we want. Okay, this is also like, how many cheese cubes will she remove rind from? I can already guess what this is. But Tabitha has a block of cheese, dimensions 12 by 10 by 5. And she cuts it into 1 centimeter cubes. And she forgets to cut the rind, which is the outside layer. and she doesn't have a lot of time, so she only removes the rind from cheese cubes which have a rind on 2 or more faces. There's almost like an exact version of this question, except it wasn't about cheese. Might have been about like a painted cube or something. But there's like a very easy way to figure out how many cheese cubes she will remove rind from, and there's not really many places to go wrong here. So if you've got this 12 by 10 situation, so let's say we have to cut off all of these, obviously, then that leaves 10 here as well. So there's like 40 on this face, if you get what I mean. So we've got 2 of these faces, so it's 40 times 2, so there's 80 on those kind of opposite faces. You then just need to get like these ones in the middle 4 times, and there's only 3 remaining because we've already dealt with the corners, so it's 3, 6, 9, 12. So it's 12 more, so it's 92, and it's B. If you need more explanation for some of these, please feel free to write in the comments, and maybe I can try and, I do want to focus more on like the exam side of stuff, but yeah, if you want to go through more stuff, then absolutely fine. Okay, so what is the least amount that Imani needs to pay for a 4-night stay? She's looking to book a 4-night stay in May, including a Sunday night. Okay, so that's one condition that already narrows down for us what we can look at. And here are the rates for the Highgate Hotel. It doesn't specify which weekend as long as a Sunday is included, and it's 4 nights. There are 2 special offers that we can pay attention to here. So we can either do Saturday and Sunday and stay Friday free, or Sunday and Monday and stay Tuesday for free. And obviously we can only use one. So like obviously we can just try to narrow down from these bookings first. So basically we have the option, it's 4 nights and we need the Sunday, so it's going to be Saturday, Sunday, and we get the Friday for free. So we can either have a Thursday or a Monday, right? So from here, what you would just look at is look at the weekends available, compare the Thursday and the Monday prices, because we have to pay Saturday and Sunday regardless, right? And then just see which one tends to be cheaper, Thursday or Monday. So if we look at Thursday, we've got 50-50, 40-40, and then Monday we've got 30-30, 30-30. So apart from this one, it's always cheaper on Monday. So for the first deal, we are always going to compare Friday to Monday. For the second deal, we do the same thing. So book Sunday and Monday and stay Tuesday free. So we can either do Saturday or we can do to Wednesday, right? And again, we just compare Saturday and Wednesday, 50-50, 40-60, Wednesday 50-50, 60, similar, okay? But already we have to have, if you can see, we're kind of like, we're including, actually forget that. But anyway, we've got these 2 offers. So we'll start with this deal here, Friday, what did I say? Friday to Monday, right? So Friday to Monday, okay? So we're only paying for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So it's very round numbers. Just make the effort of just adding. So if you do 50, 40, and 30, that would be the first potential weekend we could stay, right? And that equals 120. And then we get 50, 40, 30, which it also equals 120, 40, 40, 30, which is 110, and then 60, 30, which is more. So 110 is our price to beat. I'm just going to look at the options here quickly. So it's the second lowest. So 100 is the only one that's cheaper. That's very useful because now we can go in and see, is it possible to make 100 with one of our current offers? For it to be 100, we need it to be 40, 40, 20, right? And I don't think that's possible. No, just looking at it, it's not actually doable on the bits that we've chosen because we have to pay for another day. So the answer will be B. So again, not rocket science on this one, nothing fancy, nothing that you can do, or you can do, like nothing that you can guarantee, like going through it much quicker. The only thing you can do is make sure you read the offer really well, make sure you look at the conditions really well, it had to be 4 nights, and then try to eliminate as much as possible quickly so that you don't have to do as many calculations. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna upload this for now, just so that this doesn't get too long, and I will finish filming the rest of the questions now, and I'll upload part 2, the remaining questions, tomorrow. As I said, I did skim through a lot of these in the way that I would want you to do in an exam, so if you need extra clarification or if you want any more help with questions, please feel free to leave a comment and I will try to get back to you.